T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
Four, three, two, one.
Hello.
Hello.
How is everyone? Welcome
Good.
welcome to the Thursday Night Flyer live stream. So tonight we've got in a second Simon Keeling telling us about how good the weather's going to be. Well, we've decided it's going to be good anyway. Simon might decide otherwise. We've got a whole bunch of news, quite a chunk of stuff in the news. In Fantasy Hangar, we are picking our favourite aerobatic aircraft. We'll have a recap of where we are on the Fantasy Hangar. And we've got a couple of other bits and pieces going on there. And then it's the usual stuff, an update on the magazine, and maybe, we haven't spoken about that. We didn't plan that a bit, but we might chuck it in anyway. An update on the magazine, our usual what's on and what's not on, and what was going to be on and is now not on, and what might be on, and that kind of thing, and all sorts of stuff. So without any further ado, let me bring you Simon Keeling to tell us all about this weekend's weather. Simon.
Evening all. Hope all is well with you. Look, the message for this weekend is make the most of it, because from the middle to the end of next week, things at the moment aren't looking particularly great. So if you can get out there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, do try your best. There's going to be a few complications though. If I just show the chart for Friday first of all, actually they're very similar charts through Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday we got fronts across the north, so I think through sort of Northern Ireland, Northwest England, Scotland. Pretty breezy, some cloud there. Bases are going to be fairly low. I don't think it's going to be particularly great flying conditions. But across England and Wales, better, always more cloud towards the west. Eastern and southern parts of England looking best overall. Bases there, 4,000 feet. Tops probably around about 9,000 or 10,000 feet during the course of Friday afternoon. So south is best tomorrow. North is not that great, and it's windy in the north as well. Saturday looks like this. Ridge of high pressure over us. See that weak cold front across the south? I think that's going to have no more than cloud associated with it. If you're under that, bases are around 2,500 to 3,000 feet. Tops on that about 6,000 or 7,000 feet. It's a band of cloud basically. To the north of that, Midlands, Wales, northern parts of England, I think we're going to be finding better conditions there. The cloud tending to break. I think we're looking at bases of around 3,500 to 4,000 feet. Tops at around 10,000 feet there. Across Scotland, it's a breezier. Always some showers in the west. Eastern parts of Scotland do look better, with the cloud being more broken there. But yeah, I think Western Scotland seeing lots of showers. But like I say, generally behind that cold front Saturday, things look better. And then for Sunday, high pressure towards the south, starting to bring in a feed of tropical continental air, and that's always warm air. It means that the cloud will try to disintegrate. So I think across many parts of England, Wales, looks like being generally quite fair. High cloud bases, good flying conditions. Breezy across northern England, Scotland and Ireland, but rain across much of Scotland. Low cloud in the west, non-flyable there. But for much of England and Wales, it's looking okay. It's looking flyable. Just watch out, northeast England. Could be some quite gusty winds there. So just be prepared for that. But I think elsewhere looks like a reasonable day. But as I say, make the most of it. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday if you can, because from the middle of next week, things do tend to go downhill. Have a great weekend flying.
Thank you very much, Simon. And
Thanks, Simon.
if we could have some nice weather next week, that would be great as well.
I'll have a word for you now you've said.
Thank you very much. Have a great one.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Now,
So-
before anyone says, two things. Someone's just taxied in, so you may hear aeroplane taxi behind us, because I'm coming live from the airfield. And also, it's one of those things where you sit outside and you go, maybe it's going to go dark before this broadcast finishes. So if I plunge into darkness, you know where I've gone.
Yeah, you kind of got a little glow about you at the moment.
That's it, yeah, lighting. There's an aeroplane just taxiing behind at the moment.
Excellent. Dave, do you want to tell us about the news?
Well, there's a whole lot this week, surprisingly. Diamond Aircraft have announced the DA50 RG for retractable gear, has now got EASA type certification. So this is a real rival to Cirrus, if you like. It's a 5-seater. It's very well equipped. It's got all the goodies on there. It's got a Garmin G1000 NXI cockpit, leather seats. It's a fabulous looking aeroplane. Great colour scheme. That we're hoping to get to fly it fairly soon, aren't we, guys?
Well, there's a hope, certainly, and obviously this is diesel powered as well, isn't it? It's the
that's right.
It's the big Continental diesel.
That's right. It's got the Continental 300 horsepower V6 diesel, and this is the first aircraft to actually have that engine fitted. The first certified aircraft to have it fitted. So that's quite interesting. That will make it more popular than the Cirrus, I guess, in some places around the world where avgas is hard to get or very expensive.
Yeah. And
Well, talking of very expensive, I don't know if you remember, but when we first spoke about the DA50, we asked Diamond, how much is it? And they went, I'm afraid that's a state secret. We can't tell you.
we now know. I hear we know.
But we now know. So basically, if you take a DA50 kind of ex-factory base model, I'm not quite sure what the base model is, but base model, it's only going to cost you 769,000 euros.
Just
But if you add things like de-ice, nice paint, some other bits and pieces, toys, not toys, no, tools. Sorry, I meant tools. If you add stuff like that, it's 900,000 euros, which really does put it probably just under the price of a new Cirrus with all those kind of things. So it's going to be an interesting and competitive airplane.
when you say new Cirrus, you're talking about the SR, the top end
Sorry.
SR22T, aren't you?
Are there any other Cirruses?
Yes. Other more budget friendly Cirruses are available.
Are there? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. The top of the range, the SR22T GTS with all the bits and pieces on and Ficky. That's interesting. I wonder if this is Ficky. I suspect it will be. If it's not already, it will be soon.
Yes, maybe. Midlife PPL in the comments says longer wingspan than a Cirrus. Yes, it is. So you need to check that it fits your hangar because diamonds tend to be quite big.
44 feet is the wingspan.
That is quite big.
That's quite big. Yeah.
Does anyone happen to know off the top of their head what the width of a typical T hangar in the US is?
It's smaller. Oh, it might be smaller than 44 feet.
I think it might be smaller than 44 feet as well. Someone must know. And
comes with free hack
asking a question: does it have a parachute? The answer to that is no.
No.
Though in the past, Diamond have talked about digital parachutes, haven't they? And I guess with the advent of Autoland, maybe that kind of technology may seep in. May make it into that. So
I'm guessing that the engine will be FADEC controlled. So it's FADEC engine, so the Autoland won't be a problem there. Auto braking is going to be possible on it, so it wouldn't be a shock to see Autoland on the Diamond.
No.
You heard it here first.
Yes, but very nice. And nice as new certified aeroplanes are rare things. So it's awesome to see Diamond bring this to market certified.
Yep.
We look forward to lending us one for a year.
You'll be lucky.
Moving on, there's the private flyer event that was supposed to be happening at Wickham Air Park in the summer, then postponed to October, has now been rescheduled for next May. This is kind of like the old event we used to know as Aerofair, and it's had various other titles through the years. And anyway, I guess it's a bit of a shame that it's been moved, but they couldn't do anything else with COVID around. What else? There's a new instrument from U Avionics. I'm sorry, I'm rushing through this a bit because there's so much to talk about. But there's U Avionics, a new instrument. This is the AV30. It's this little thing is under $2,000 to buy, and does an awful lot. It can either be an artificial horizon like this, or it can be a direction indicator, or both, I guess. So that's just got its FAA certification, so it can be fitted under an FAA STC. I guess we'll be getting EASA, an EASA STC fairly soon.
And what's it's a really feature-packed instrument. It's even got AOA built into it. which is quite impressive.
AOA, a probeless AOA as well.
Yeah.
Which is great. And it's I think it's got a +8 -8 G meter built in as well. So I think it's a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, clearly we have it's up against the Garmin G5 and the 275s.
Well, 275s certified is certified and pretty expensive, isn't it? So it's probably more of a competitor for it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the real challenge for it is going to be a lot of the other Garmins. If you happen to have a Garmin autopilot, then you need the Garmin kit to drive that. But it's great to see. It's great to see development in this end of the market. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a really nice instrument. That so
You Avionics are turning out some innovative stuff, aren't they?
Yeah, and fast too. They're they're a bit like Garmin for kind of pace of turnaround. So
yeah.
What's next?
Okay, what's next is a guy called Stuart King, who is the founder of the Mission Aviation Fellowship. This is him here. He founded MAF just after the Second World War. He was a pilot during the Second World War, and he started off flying into remote parts of Africa, taking humanitarian aid in, doctors and food and stuff like that. And he built up this organization which flies into the most awkward places you can imagine. If you go to YouTube and search for MAF flights, there's the most ridiculous flights where they they follow a river round through jungle, and find some clearing that isn't really there and land in it, and somehow manage to take off and come out again. So anyway, he's passed. He was quite getting on a bit, 90 odd, so a good life.
Yeah, I flew years ago a Kodiak aeroplane out of Lid. I think it was kind of just going through the UK from the US, and we sort of jumped on it for a little bit when it stopped on its ferry. And the thing that fascinated me, because they obviously do a wide range of flying in a wide range of places. All of the MAF aircraft have a little part on the instrument panel, which is basically a box with toggle switches on, and it contains all of the really essential items for the pre-landing and pre-takeoff checks. So you just go through and flick those and get the light, and flick those and get the light. So it's a really good way of working through stuff to get that kind of pre-takeoff, pre-landing checklist kind of done without having to get out.
And not connected to anything, I guess. Just a smart box.
Not connected to anything. It's probably not even that smart, really. It's probably just
lights and switches. But if it's a way of making you remember things.
Yeah, no, I was quite impressed with it. I have to say, it's
it must be quite difficult doing your performance calculation for coming out of a jungle clearing, heavily loaded and in all sorts of temperatures.
Yeah, so, but it's probably the places you need to do the calculations. No messing up there.
Without risking upsetting too many people, I think when you walk down that, there's a certain alley at Oshkosh that you walk down, and it's got like Mission Aviation Fellowship, and there's a few others, and one of them is kind of the Lost Tribes mission. I think it's the Lost Tribes one that has a very strange stand, and I think they're the people who deliver the Bibles. I don't know if MAF deliver too many Bibles, whether they just do food and transport.
Yeah.
But it's
there's a lot of that going on. Anyway, moving on. We must.
Just before I say something and put my foot in it.
We always have to worry about that. Anyway, there's just a little news story really about One Aviation. This is the company that wanted to take the Kestrel, the former Farnborough F1 project, and they wanted to put it into production. They have finally had to close. They've basically run out of money completely.
It's a long old story with Kestrel. I mean, because Kestrel ended up buying the sort of Farnborough F1 people ended up getting bought, and then that ended up going to the States and becoming the Kestrel, and that was run for a while by Alan Clapmeyer, who was one of the founder brothers for Cirrus. And then there was a merger between Kestrel and Eclipse to make One Aviation. Eclipse being the Vern Raven very cheap ultralight jet that didn't work quite so well. The jet worked quite well, but financially it wasn't quite so good. So you kind of took these two relatively cash-hungry companies, I guess, put them together, and it became more cash-hungry. And that didn't kind of work out. And they've been in Chapter 11 bankruptcy for a while, working on a deal with, I think it's City King in China, who were due to put in some money, but that didn't happen either. And then there was a kind of an unusual judgment from the bankruptcy judge who allowed them to get sold to yet another company, and that's now bought them, which is kind of backed by a real estate company. So I think everyone's kind of, there's still a few jobs been saved, and you can still buy parts for the Eclipse.
But the bottom line is that sometimes bringing aircraft to market is tough.
It is tough.
Yeah. Personally, I don't think the Kestrel F1 is ever going to come to market.
No,
I think that's done and dusted.
Yep. What's next?
Next is
Thanks, Dave.
you know a bit more about this than I do, Ian. The CAA airspace consultation is coming to an end in a week.
It is indeed. Didn't we miss something out? Did we miss the Cub Crafters thing out?
The
We did miss
X-Cub.
the Cub Crafters thing out. Yes.
Okay, but anyway,
We'll go back to that in a second.
okay.
Excellent.
Yeah, so there's a CA consultation that closes in a week, and I don't know if you remember, but there was the CA kind of consultation that came out about airspace reclassification, and they got a bunch of 5-year-olds to just make those red marks like they were playing bingo. So these are 5-year-olds who are practicing to play bingo, and they
On a
came
map
up
of the UK.
on a map of the UK, and frankly, it was just a complete and utter waste of time. And I actually wrote to Richard Moriarty and said, you need to do this again properly. It's ridiculous. There's much better out there. And I did get a letter back, but it said nothing. It spent a lot of words saying nothing. So anyway, they've come up with this new method of reclassifying airspace, and it's kind of fairly complex. But this is our chance to have our input and to put our answers in. And we've got another week to go, so until the 17th. And if you go on the Flyer forum or just go Google airspace consultation or go on, you'll find the URL there. Jump in and make your comments known. Looking through it, and it kind of looks, it's one of those typical CA things that goes on for ages and ages and ages. Like, man, this is hard to understand. But basically, it's kind of like there is no external scrutiny for it. It's like, well, we'll consider this, we'll do that. But actually, really, I don't know. Maybe I've got my tinfoil cynical hat on, but I kind of think there ought to be some external scrutiny. And I think a few people have mentioned this, and I think it's a great idea. The CA is a big enough, and I was going to say ugly enough, I meant beautiful enough organization that we all love and we all want it to thrive. And for that reason, it does need some independent external scrutiny. It needs an ombudsman, someone who can look at stuff. There's a whole load of contentious stuff going on at the moment, and it really does need scrutiny. So I think we might start a little campaign to see if we can't get an independent ombudsman for the CAA. So,
Okay.
But more importantly, don't worry about that. You've got a week. Get online, get the consultation, and make your point known. Go for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So moving back to the item I skipped over.
Sorry.
Hey.
The Cub Crafters X-Cub. This is it. And the first one is coming to Europe, and you can see there it's wearing a British registration. That's because it's going to be based here. This is obviously the tail wheel version. There is also the a nose wheel version out there, but doesn't it look great? I mean, that's a really nice looking aeroplane, don't you think?
Looks good. Nose wheel's not certified yet, but almost certainly will be. And and obviously the X-Cub is EASA certified now, so hence why first one coming to the UK. And that's got G3X Touch in the panel too, I think, hasn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
First example of that in a
In a
certified
certified
airplane.
aircraft. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It does look really nice.
Yeah, nice and fast as Cubs go.
That's good.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just have one small bit of unscheduled news that I snuck in onto the agenda while you guys weren't watching.
Okay, what was
And
that?
It was kind of flagged up to me from a Flyer forum post. The AIB reports are out today.
Yep.
In the AIB reports is an air-to-air collision, basically a mid-air collision.
Mid-air collision.
A mid-air collision that took place with two aircraft flying on a charity event out of White Waltham, a low-wing Fuji and a high-wing Cessna 172. Neither of them actually realised they'd hit each other, and both of them landed and then flew another flight until after the other flight, one of them realised there was some big chunks missing and stuff like that. So no one came to any harm. Everyone got really lucky. But it's a report that is worthy of everyone going to have a good read. That's
Okay.
kind of what I want.
Maybe we'll make sure that's listed on Flyer tomorrow with
Yeah.
a worth a read.
There's a good thread on the Flyer forum about it as well at the
Cool.
moment. It's definitely worth a read. Sorry. So we get back. We digress. Back to you.
Right. Well, that's the end of the news, actually.
That's
so
it.
I think
News is over.
we're now zipping over to the fantasy hangar.
Yeah. So fantasy hangar, we kind of these are COVID times, and clearly the aviation industry and particularly the commercial aviation industry is under some form of economic pressure. So we kind of thought that it was a bit, having 3 fantasy hangars was just a little bit OTT. So we decided to reduce it to 1 fantasy hangar. So we've been back through the stuff, and we kind of picked the winner for now out of the 3. So the first one, the Bimbler, we kind of we gave that to Ed. Ed voted for a Cub. So every fantasy hangar needs a Cub, no matter how bad they handle.
No, they're great. You're wrong.
Yeah. Okay. Joe Dell D140 handles much better. Then we
that's not a bimbling aeroplane.
Then we looked at tourers, and Dave won the tourer thing with the Bonanza. It's a pretty classic touring airplane, isn't it? Good old A36 or G36 as it is now, even though Dave preferred the Dr. Killer with the V-tail made of unobtainium.
Yes, that's fine.
The Speedster prize went to Ed with his Poland Special, which I'd never heard of, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I totally win that with that. That's an awesome aeroplane.
Definitely win that. And then last week we spoke about the next kit. Clearly, I win that one with the Panther because that's an absolutely fantastic kit.
That's a very worthy winner. And this week we decided on?
We decided on aerobatic aircraft. So, where are we? Dave, do you want to talk about your aerobatic aircraft?
Well, I chose the Sukhoi 29 because
Blimey.
I once subbed and read an article by Alan Cassidy about the Sukhoi. He was talking about the 26, but the 26 is a single seat, the 29 is a 2-seater. And Alan's report on the 26 was just phenomenal. It just sounds like the best ever aerobatic aircraft. You can do so much with it. The reason I chose the 2-seater over the single-seater is that I love doing aerobatics, but only with an instructor and only at very, very high. I'm not into this low-level stuff, and I haven't done enough aerobatics to go solo. So that's it. That's the Red Bull, the Flying Bulls rather, the Flying Bulls SU-29, and so that's my choice. There we are, and I've won.
While we're on this picture, and talking about an aeroplane for the fantasy hangar,
that is a fantasy hangar, and no mistake.
Hangar. That's the Red Bull Hangar 7 at Salzburg.
Yeah. And
there's
there's some toys in that.
There are some toys in that, and I can't remember. Basically, behind where the camera is now, there's a kind of mirror image of that one. So there are 2 together, one for the fleet and one's a kind of museum with a restaurant. It's got a fantastic restaurant, and in the roof, I think you can just see it's something very similar there. In that roof bit there's a cocktail bar with a stairway that goes up to it, staffed by bar angels, apparently Red Bull bar angels. Right. I think that's probably the ultimate.
That is winning at life.
That is winning indeed. So on to my winner for the aerobatic thing. This is clearly the aerobatic airplane to have in the fantasy hangar. I know, it's an aerobat. I know. So why would you want an aerobat? Well, it's accessible. It's rubbish at aerobatics. So you kind of have to be actually quite good if you want to do good aerobatics in it, which I'll never get to. Makes you work really hard. Friendly, lovely little airplane. I remember after I got my PPL, I did a quick aerobatic course. It was probably the first thing I did after my PPL. And we did, I'm not sure if you could really call it a flick roll, but in a Cessna, it's what passes for a flick roll. And you kind of get to, I think, from memory, about 70 knots. And you go full half stick and full left rudder. And the whole thing shakes, and it's going to you, really? Do you really want me to do this? And it's just vibrating away, and then all of a sudden it goes over. It's a very, very communicative yet fun airplane that you can also use to go and buy yourself $100 burger if you want to.
Someone says you've lost the plot, Ian. Flywood, which I believe is Rob Hughes of BMAA fame, says you've lost the plot.
Sorry, Rob.
Yeah. Interesting instant fact on the 152 Aerobat. It uses the wing struts from a 182.
Does it?
Yes.
Clearly.
There we go. Fascinating fact.
Why What's your losing entry in this one then?
No, I think on sheer classic brilliance for aerobatics, I win because it's a Jungmeister from the 30s, 160 horsepower, beautiful Siemens radial, and it's rare, and they were legendary for being brilliant aerobatic machines. I've never flown one. I'd love to. I'd love to own one even more. But unfortunately, they're really expensive. But I think that would be my fancy hangar aerobatic choice.
I must admit, I'm a bit envious now. That does look very nice.
That's it. And Paul Kiddle, who I know is a big Jungmann and Jungmeister fan, says Ed wins easy. So I'll take Paul's vote. and Chris Cooper, Ed wins. So clearly, I can see a pattern forming. I am successful here.
What we're going to do tomorrow, if we can figure out the technology, because I'm not around tomorrow morning because I've got to go to the dentist and have a root canal treatment. So that would be nice.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to run a poll on Facebook and a few other bits of social media, pitching Dave Sukhoi against the winner of the Aerobat and Ed's old aeroplane.
I can see your reasons for picking the Aerobat though, because that's really accessible aerobatics, even if you point it uphill and it kind of wheezes asthmatically.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know.
I need to go back. There was a comment earlier. Someone said, "How much was the X Cub?" The X Cub is a smidge under $300,000. So, yeah,
Sure.
easy payment plan available, I'm sure.
That sounds like a bargain, doesn't it? So while I switch over to and have a look through the comments, Dave, do you want to talk us through the events that are going on, the events that aren't going on, the events that might be going on?
Well, there's every week I go through the events and check what's happening, and it's a sad story. You know, so many things being cancelled because of COVID restrictions. People aren't, airfields aren't able to run things. However, there are a few which are taking place, and I've checked these. There's the gyro fly at Sandown. So if you fancy looking at a bunch of egg wicks going on, that's the place to go. Sandown is always worth a visit anyway. There's the Cornwall LAA strut happening at Bodmin. Bodmin is a nice little airfield, and it's got a good diner as well. And there's also the Flyer weekend at Beverley up in Beverley. Is that Yorkshire? It's sort of up there, Yorkshire. It's nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with us. They simply call it the Flyer weekend. It's nothing to do with us, but it is taking place. I confirmed that with them yesterday.
So
Uh,
The ones that aren't happening, unfortunately, there's a whole bunch. The Glen Falls vintage flying on the Isle of Mull, Reno Air Races, that was cancelled some time ago. Gasco was going to run a safety evening at Cambridge, but that's been cancelled. The Guernsey Air Rally, which had been postponed from earlier in the year to September, is now not going ahead. They're planning for next year instead. And perhaps the one we're going to miss the most, well, I miss it, is the BMA's SSDR, that single seat deregulated Freedom Rally. And this is for crazy little things that don't need any regulation. And basically, it's basically a tent on wheel, a tent with an engine.
well, I don't know. There's some really awesome SSDRs, like the SD1 and things. It's not necessarily about 10 frame and fabric. There's some good stuff around. Keir Williams says the Vintage Piper Aircraft Club fly-in. They've got an event at Shobden this Saturday. That's definitely on.
Okay.
And Melanie Moxon's pointing out that it's East Yorkshire, so there must be like an East and West Yorkshire thing going on there.
I don't know. Yorkshire's a big place, isn't it? So I guess you can have an East and West Yorkshire.
Well, there's north and south as well, isn't there? East and west.
Yeah. Steve Todd says British Aerobatics contest at Sleep on Saturday is on.
Oh, right.
Wow, everything is suddenly on. Everything is on except the sunlight, which clearly this will be the last night when I sit out at the hangar.
Interestingly, just as an aside, the Flyer weekend at Beverley and the private flyer event that was postponed, just important they're not to do with us. They're not linked to us in any way. This is the Flyer Club, the one and only original Flyer Club and Flyer magazine. So we're very happy for them, but it's not us, just to make that point. Ed, do you want to have you got anything to say about the issue?
I have nothing to say about the issue yet.
Okay.
But it will be. There's been lots of people writing in about the Pierre Robin piece in the latest issue and the Lundy fly-in. I know there's been lots of good feedback about the latest one. Plus, it's had loads and loads of readers. So we're really grateful for everyone who's come along and read that. But I can guarantee there will be content in the next issue.
Excellent.
I heard from Christoph actually.
You heard from Christoph Robin?
Christoph Robin. He's over the moon with the little the tribute we gave to his father.
Fantastic.
That's brilliant.
Well, he's an awesome guy, Christoph.
If anyone's watching this who hasn't read the Pierre Robin piece and who hasn't seen the video that Dave did with the interview with Christoph, then I can highly recommend both of those. Really, sometimes you get. It's just sometimes you just get like humbled by this kind of stuff that gets produced by these guys. It's bloody great. Well done. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Good.
Oh, I had no hand.
Cool. And we're on time, I think, almost.
We are on time. Well, there's 18 seconds to go.
Yeah, I've probably got no daylight left.
So, Courtney, just a quick one for one other fly-in. Courtney Chambers, new farm airfields holding the big fly-in Back to the Future rally this weekend. Adrian Jones and Dr. Bill Brooks doing talks and all variety of aircraft booked in.
If Bill Brooks is there, that almost means you get to see the fantastic flycycle.
The flycycle.
Yes.
That's one of the weird and wonderful tent creations I was talking about.
That's a fantastic bike. It was microlight. You can cycle. I don't think you call that a tent, Dave. It's, Chris Cooper said it's quite disturbing as you try to read your screen, Ed. Yes. it's like bright light to keep me illuminated. Can't see the screen. Yes. Live stream.
Cold as well, isn't it?
It's getting quite cold as well. This was clearly a mistake.
It's clearly.
Apart from the fact I'm going to have to pack up in the dark.
It is now 8 o'clock. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for coming along. Mark Bellamy preferred it without subtitles. Preferred what without subtitles?
I have no idea.
Are you talking subtitles for the live stream? Because they're not. They're switched on somewhere else. Maybe
yes, it's not to do with us.
Nothing. Not our fault, Gov. Anyway, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next week. Look out for the voting options for the poll for the aerobatic aircraft for our fantasy hangar.
Definitely, though. Clearly, I'm a big winner by a massive margin.
I'm going to have to put that one up. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great evening. Fly safe. Have a great weekend.
Yeah. Take it steady. Fly while you can.
Yeah. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.